Hey guys, this is Bastien. I'm a student in physics and
I'm Marie-Luca, a student in chemistry, which is far better than
we'll
physics.
talk about it in another video. So today, why are we here?
We are here to discuss the relationship between failure and science.
Because we are scientists and we want to discuss about something we know. So failure, because failure has an important role in science as we will dive in after.
Yes. So, the reason we are talking about that is that as science evolves, it seems that we are stuck. And the scientist Stuart Firestein, in his article Failure Points, why science is so successful, states that it is because failure is so understated in comparison to the scientific method we are told in school.
And he judged that scientific method is not at all useful, and compared to that, he thinks failure has an important role to have in science.
Let's discuss that.
So, first of all, let's talk about Stuart's point of view. So he states that scientific method is an unrealistic process. It's an ideal that scientists don't apply in their everyday life. And in real science, well, you don't create a hypothesis from nowhere. You don't try to prove something you have already stated. Well, you just do science. You thought around, like he said, and you just do science in your own way, in your own instincts, and it's just the opposite as the thing we learn at school. So there is a very strong opposition between what we learn at school and what scientists do. For him, every major discovery stems from failure. When scientists make from failure, so it's for him when scientific method fails. So thus we can dramatically need failure for science, and we need failure for science to evolve. For him, it is about straying apart from the known path in order to learn new things. And more importantly, well, you have to let students make mistakes, fail, and you have to do it when they are learning, because it's when they will develop their own mind. You have to let them make mistakes, ask questions, discuss, and do not stay in a core-setted vision.
So, to illustrate that, let's turn to the chemistry. So, in this chemistry, you can see a molecule. Maybe you don't really know what it is, but it is quite an important molecule in chemistry. This is mustard gas. So, it is what has irritated the lungs of quite a lot of soldiers. But it is important because after the disaster it had provoked, scientists tried to make it even more deadly. And by doing that, they actually created something really interesting, which is in the other side of the chemistry. So I have this new molecule, which you can see resembles the previous one. And here we have what is more known as the first chemo agent in the history. This was the first molecule to be used in chemotherapy. So you see, the scientists failed. They did not make something more deadlier. They simply made something that cured cancer, which is not really the goal that they were looking for. Yet, it is important and it is useful to humanity.
Okay, so thank you, Mary, for this wonderful example in chemistry, but let's talk about real science. So, physics, you have in front of you Einstein equation. So Einstein equation is the equation that rules general relativity. So it was one of the most successful theory of the 20th century. But Einstein was not completely right, because he didn't understood completely how the universe was developing, and he saw that the universe was inert, so it didn't evolve, didn't grow or shrink, And this equation doesn't work correctly. So he decided to add a new term with what is now known as the cosmological constant, gamma. And with this new term, he was able to prove that the universe was not growing or shrinking, it was finite. But he was also wrong about it, because well, we all know that the universe is developing and is growing. So according to himself, it was one of the biggest mistakes of his life. Fortunately, this big failure proved in the future to be very useful and be very successful, because it has helped scientists to understand more plainly how the universe works, and this constant nowadays serves to understand dark energy. And it was something he didn't know about, but with this new term, he was able to explain new things that many decades after had an incredible impact.
So, as we have seen with Bastien's example and mine, failure is incredibly important in science. Yet, contrary to what Stuart says, failure is inherent to the scientific method, because without any frame, you cannot make any mistake. And worse, you do not know if the mistake is a genuine mistake, where you have just put the wrong thing in the beaker. Maybe it is a real and fundamental failure which will develop new theories. So, scientific method is really important for scientists to make failure and to know that this failure, isn't just a simple mistake. And moreover, I would like to point out that science is not really as much about making really big hypotheses and trying to prove them, because, well, you have just created this hypothesis. Science is about learning what others have done, researching what is being done, and deciding to do something that is the more likely to succeed. So in a way, Stuart's point, saying that scientific method isn't what scientists do, is not really a good point. Because scientists, indeed, don't do the scientific method we are told at school, but their scientific method is quite right. We can even say that without the scientific method, failure doesn't exist. For example, when scientists tried to make more deadlier version of the mustard gas, they tried, and to replace the atoms, they tried to do little changes, but always with the same method. And only when they found something strange, they knew it wasn't a genuine mistake. They knew they had made something that looked like that and did not act like that. So in this example, we can see that the failure really stems from the scientific method and how they were proceeding.
So as we have seen, scientific method is not to blame for the current stuck of science. So why is actually currently science stuck? Maybe because science requires more time, more money, because everything we are searching nowadays is just more complex and not easy to find, because as we have deeper in science, well, everything that was easy to find, we have found it, and now everything that is left to find is very difficult and very expensive. So we have to spend a lot of money to build new reactors and new colliders. We have to spend a lot of money to train other scientists in order to make them able to understand the complexity of nature. And with all this required money, well, scientists have a lot of pressure in order to succeeding, because well, they can't be scientists on their own. They have to get grants. They have to be paid and to develop new things that can be applied. And all these things that society is bringing on them, well, this only leads to short-term outcomes and not to big long-term discoveries. So it has a very, very bad influence on scientists, and of course they tend to conceal their mistakes, to conceal their failures and ignore those failures because of society. And maybe a solution would be to make them apply scientific method and apply failure, but on their own and without all this pressure.
So, to put it in a nutshell, the stagnation we observe in science is not so much due to the nature of science itself. It is the natural repercussion of all the pressure scientists are under, and basically a natural result of the growing complexity of what we search. So, to improve this stagnation, we could maybe appreciate the baby steps that science is currently doing and learn to trust scientists and to trust them to look for ways they have failed. And I think that sums it all.
Perfect. So, guys, don't forget to subscribe, to like or comment, and of course share this video.
Yes.
See you next week.